All right. Hey, folks, everybody. Welcome to episode, I think, 104 of Quarkus Insights. And today we have some really cool stuff to show you. So we'll talk about Stargate with Yvonne, who will walk us through what Stargate is and how it's related to Quarkus and everything. But before we get into those details, let's just very quickly go through the Quarkus news of the week. So this week, well, actually, into last week, we released Quarkus 13. So the important features I would say there are a Kafka Dev UI. So there's this awesome new UI for Kafka messages that you get when you run Quarkus Dev with Kafka dependencies. So do check that out. We think it's pretty cool, and we definitely want feedback. And the other thing is that we have a new security feature in Rust Easy Reactive, which is for cross-site request forgery. So and there's a bunch of other small things there. So as always, feel free to try it out and let us know. And also there'll be a bug fix release next week. So I think Wednesday or Thursday, 2.13.1. And like more releases will follow if needed. So Yvonne, how about you tell us about yourself? What do you do?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me.
Well,
Like a
thank
year
you for
ago,
coming.
yeah, a year ago, I didn't use Quarkus, and now I'm in a podcast, so it's great. Uh, yeah,
Success
I'm
story.
success story. I'm working for DataStax. I'm part of Stargate team there. I'm part of this team for almost 2 years now. I come with a lot of Java-based background, some background in application performance, and so on. Yeah, and I'm here to present Stargate and Cassandra a
Hmm.
little bit, and actually, yeah, tell you why we kind of moved to Quarkus and what cool things we did with it.
Cool. Yeah. So how about first, like, give us a very like high level overview. Okay, what does DataStax do? Why does Stargate needed? What problems are solved by Stargate?
Sure. So DataStax is company behind Apache Cassandra.
Hmm.
Apache Cassandra is a NoSQL database, one of the most famous ones. Open source, of course. Great features, if you ask me. Linear scalability, peer-to-peer architecture. You don't have a single point of failure, right? You can store a massive amount of data, and it's pretty cool. Recently, we released a commercial called "A Day in Your Life with Cassandra." It's really awesome. You should check it out. It's on YouTube. It's like showing you this kind of daily, small kind of clips from a daily life, like ordering a Starbucks coffee, whatever, playing PlayStation, streaming a Netflix movie, and then you realize that all of this is powered by Apache Cassandra. So it's pretty cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of big tech companies use it. A lot of big tech companies store a massive amount of data there. So yeah, it's definitely a future. Stargate, well, Stargate is also open source. It's a data gateway. It's actually a set of APIs that sit in front of the Cassandra.
Hmm.
Stargate was motivated by actually by other big tech companies developing their own data gateways.
Mm.
So we saw that like Netflix was developing their own data gateway in front of the Cassandra. Yelp was doing the same, for example. And DataStax said, okay, so why wouldn't we do the same, right? Let's build these open source APIs. Let's give them to everyone, and then everybody can use um, APIs instead of going and using the Cassandra driver and using Cassandra directly. And yeah, there are kind of benefits to this. It's simple. Like if you have a REST API, it's simple HTTP call. You don't have to care like about drivers. You can call it from any language, and so on. So it's a project that was released 2 years ago, and yeah, we are now in a progress of releasing a version 2,
Hmm.
and our move to version 2 was actually switching to Quarkus.
Oh, okay. So what was the previous stack?
Yeah, so previous stack was Stargate was I think released the first version was released like 2 years ago approximately. It was like a classical Java monolith, right?
Hmm.
It had like one fat JVM running with a bunch of APIs with something which we call Stargate coordinator. So it's like a Cassandra coordinator so it's a Cassandra node that doesn't store data.
Hmm.
Um, and Yeah, it was like powered by OSGI. Um, OSGI is kind of a dying tech in a way. I mean, it's cool that you can kind of plug in modules and stuff. But I mean, for me, it's like old tech.
Yeah.
We had like Java 8 source code, and
Hmm.
it was let's say it was not a modern tech stack.
But it was how when did its development start? I mean, I'm kind of.
Yeah, it started. I don't know this exactly because I was not part of the Stargate then, but it
Mhm.
started years ago. So I mean, before
Okay.
release. So it's definitely like a result of development of few years. So
Right. Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I mean, what's really interesting, like we have different APIs. So we have REST API, we have GraphQL, we have gRPC API, we have something which we call a document API. So it's a way to store JSON documents in Cassandra.
Mm.
Really cool things. You don't have to care like how you store the documents, right? How the documents are later on stored. You just kind of use the API directly. What's also quite interesting is that the exactly same APIs are part of AstraDB. AstraDB is
Mhm.
DataStax serverless database as a service. So actually, for us, but also for external contributors, it's quite cool that you develop something that's going to be used in production and going to be used by like thousands of customers for DataStax.
Very nice. Very nice. Can you like elaborate on who some of these like customers? I mean, the ones that are actually publicly known, right? That use Cassandra and then Stargate as well.
So I'm not sure. I mean, yeah. So I mean, publicly known, I know that like FedEx is one of the biggest DataStax customers, although I think, have their own kind of setup and everything. Who else? There's some other ones like wait, my brain now stopped, brainwashed. Um,
You said earlier Starbucks, I think.
yeah, I think Starbucks is not our customer. It's like using Cassandra directly, but yeah, I mean, this
Okay.
is more like the open source version. Yeah.
Right. Right.
But we are like having more and more customers coming to Astra, also big ones. So I think the APIs they start slowly. Everybody kind of use
Hmm.
the kind of direct CQL
Right.
usage, but then yeah, we kind of expand and so on.
Cool. Very nice. Also, I should probably remind folks that any questions you want to ask, feel free, and we'll do our best to answer them. Actually, now that I think of it, I have a question. Do we have Cassandra integration in Quarkus?
Yes, there is an extension, Cassandra extension. You can use it. Yeah, I think
Awesome.
it's one of the future episodes. Actually, I'm not sure when it's scheduled, but I think somebody else for DataStax will talk about this as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I really want to learn more about Cassandra as well because yeah, I have never used it, but I've heard great things about it.
Sure, sure, yeah. I can maybe give you a small introduction into this V2 thing, why we decided to kind of
Mm-hmm.
go there. So yeah, as I
Excellent.
said, we had this Java monolith and a little bit of older tech stack, and we were looking to modernize things. We wanted to kind of externalize APIs so they are not kind of running the same JVM and go more like microservice architecture. Have intercommunication in gRPC, like getting all the benefits of the latest Java, and be fully reactive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we did understand. I mean, we did this because we wanted basically to improve developer experience. We wanted to enable people, both internally and externally, to actually develop the APIs without knowing so much about Cassandra. So
Mm-hmm.
like, be a little bit more away from it. We also wanted to be able to, release and deploy APIs independently. You don't have to kind of wait for all of them to be bundled together, scale them differently in production, and at the end also save some resources if possible.
Okay.
What we kind of understood also that this is kind of giving us a little bit of communication. So what we were looking from the start was like performance. It was like, okay, we need to be something that's really performant so that we can kind of, you know, uh, this extra kind of network hub that you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
We need to save this by actually using something that's really performant.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So like, I also want to understand like, okay, so you wanted to move to version two. Was it like basically because like the tech stack was old, or was it also because like there were some features that you were missing and it was too hard to develop on your own, or
Yeah,
what
actually,
was
so the idea was the following. Let's first move to modern stack, and then
hmm
let's develop new features.
Okay.
So it was like a prerequisite for us, so that we can actually kind of bring new stuff. So, for example,
Right.
after we move to V2, we are making a new version of our documents API, where we would actually do some pretty cool stuff and release a mongoose version of the library that you can run against Astra and so on. So it's going to be pretty cool. But we needed to kind of do this first so that we can kind of come on top of that.
hmm Right, right. We actually have a question here, which is kind of related. And the question is asking why did you folks want to go fully reactive?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to gain the maximum performance.
hmm
We wanted to be fully on blocking. I mean, all the other services kind of support this kind of asynchronous model very nice. Cassandra can be asynchronous as well, so it kind of all plays very nice. And we are actually pretty successful, I think. Not all of our APIs are kind of fully on blocking right now, but we do have some that are really spinning on a vertex thread loop, so it's pretty cool.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, we see that often. I mean, when customers or like community want to like implement gateway functionality like this, and yeah, reactive is usually the way to go.
Sure.
All right, all right. So, what else do we have? Okay, so I'm assuming that okay, like the decision was taken by like the organization. Okay, we need to move to a new stack, right? Um, I'm
Sure.
ass- I'm assuming that was like a lengthy process of okay, let's see what options we have. Let's evaluate them. Perhaps write POCs. Can you walk us through like how that worked?
Yeah, so definitely we got a green from product to do the modernization, let's call it like this. But then like the whole kind of tech stack decision was left to the team.
hmm
We are a team of, I think, 6, 7 developers at the moment, so with a lot of experience actually. So I
hmm
think we were actually capable of making decisions on our own.
Yeah.
Um, for us, it was like we started actually quite early discussing the point, like, okay, so what is going to be in the middle of, so which framework are we going to use? And we identified like Quarkus, Spring Boot, and Micronaut as 3 major Java frameworks at the moment. And what we did, we started comparing the features and focusing on what we actually need. The first goal was like to get a lot of things out of the box. Like I don't want to write any kind of Docker files, right? I want to get Docker container build out of the box. I want to get metrics out of the box, tracing, I want to kind of gain as much as possible things that everybody else need, right? Just out of the
hmm
box. So that was one of the things, one of the kind of motivators. The second kind of major feature for us was a good gRPC support. Because we were communicating in gRPC, we had to have a good support there. And of course, we wanted the best performance. We kind of went and sneaked on these kind of reviews in performance. It depends who write them. You kind of get different results.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, and then we actually started in our open source repo discussion where we kind of invited even people to join the discussion and contribute. There is still this discussion on the GitHub. It has a huge table actually where we listed all the features and then kind of had like minuses and pluses for the frameworks. It's pretty cool. What we understood quite early actually is that although Spring Boot has like the largest community and maybe the largest adoption at the moment, they are lacking the official gRPC support.
hmm
And it was really kind of, we are not sure, there is no official gRPC support. Then we kind of looked forward. We saw that their support for native image building was in experimental mode at the moment and so on. So we kind of already had Spring Boot out of the story.
hmm
And it came down to like Micronaut versus Quarkus. Um, When we went into the feature kind of set, I can say that they can be more or less, I mean, they're comparable, right? They're more or less the
Yeah.
same.
Hmm.
But we
Hmm.
found some kind of small issues with Micronaut, like they were lacking some of the gRPC features we wanted. Um, Back at the time, they were not fully supporting Java 17. It was already like leaning towards the Quarkus.
Okay.
But
Hmm.
I think the deciding factor at the end was when we were checking the community size, and we actually saw that Quarkus was in a rise, in some kind of a trend. If you compare it to Micronaut, um, you could see that people are actually more into Quarkus at the moment. So considering that and considering all the features that we would
Hmm.
get extra, we said, look, let's go with Quarkus. And yeah, I think it was a great decision, to be honest. After like how much 9 months of working with the framework, it has been a great experience for us.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear.
Yes, yes, and this is really honest. It's not.
Well, I'm going to ask you about the pain points later on. So,
Sure, I have a
yeah,
huge list.
excellent, excellent. That's what we want to hear, so we can improve. Before we get to that, we have a few questions from our viewers. Where the first question says, "Hello, Yvonne. Did you get insights on performance increase on legacy versus Quarkus reactive?"
Yes, we are actually doing this kind of performance tests at the moment.
Hmm.
It's very kind of hard to. So, what our goal is actually to have similar performance. So, let's say one to one. But if you count it, we have one extra network call to do. If we reach this one to one similar performance, we would actually say that we are super happy and that this
Hmm.
all kind of Quarkus reactive approach was paying off. I still don't have like complete results, but I think we are very close to be on this same performance as before, but having one extra network call, which is awesome for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And there's another one, slightly related. Are you guys experimenting with Project Loom?
Not at the moment. No, no, we
Hmm.
are not there yet. No.
Yeah, so I'll just say that on the Quarkus side of things, we are looking at Loom. There's a lot of interesting ideas about how to bring Loom into Quarkus and to bridge the Loom Netty gap that's currently there. Because as everybody knows, like Quarkus is based on Netty, and Netty's an amazing network stack. But currently, there's kind of a disconnect between how Netty works and how Loom works. But there are some great ideas about how we're gonna fix that. But I should also say that, like, from a user's point of view, I mean, it's kind of difficult to depend on Loom, right? Because like what you need to depend on, like Java 21 baseline, when whatever the LTS is, the next LTS would be 21, 22, I don't know, 20. I'm not sure what the next LTS is. So that'd be really difficult, I think, for a lot of folks to say that, oh yeah, I'll just go to straight to Java 20 or whatever it is and depend on Loom instead of all this other reactive. Plus, well, for you folks, there is no there'd be no gRPC, right? Because with Loom, you have to write everything from scratch, and that just doesn't really, like, it's been done, let's say, for HTTP 1 and 2, but what about all the other protocols that are out there? So yeah, I'd say that's it'll be a long journey for the community to get to Loom. Okay, so yeah, you mentioned that you had a table that, like, had all the good stuff. What were the non-good stuff that, like, you say that, okay, this is not great, but maybe it's not a deal breaker, or maybe it is a deal breaker and then it was fixed, or
Ah. For me, for me personally, but I also think the team as well. Nobody had experience with Mutiny libraries, so
mm-hmm,
we had experience with Project Reactor, we had experience with RxJava, and this was a little bit of. It was actually, an issue for us. I mean, it was like,
mm-hmm,
okay, what's like the learning curve? We had some code that we were planning to reuse, which was written in RxJava.
mm-hmm.
So how does this play good with Mutiny library and so on? At the end, I would say, when you kind of start coding and start doing it, you kind of get into it pretty easily and pretty quickly. Um, there is only one feature right now that we are missing in Emodini, which is like an ordered merge. It's also
Mm,
not part of RxJava, but there is RxJava extensions that offers this. We use this in one special case, but there is also in Quarkus the kind of you can exchange right Mutiny with RxJava. So
mhm.
this also works pretty cool. We are actually doing this, so we are kind of switching the flow to RxJava, doing the order merge, then switching it back to Mutiny, and for
Neat.
now it's fine. I mean, when we have time to write a new operator, we will do it and we will contribute. I
Excellent.
promise.
Excellent. Sounds good. So
Uh,
yeah,
that,
the
that's
learning.
that's the only thing actually. I have to be honest. That was the only thing. Everything else was green. I mean, we didn't have any need for like. I mean, we didn't have a need to kind of retrieve data. So if you think like Spring Boot is really strong in this area, so
Mhm.
like you can just use whatever. I mean, they have out of the box support for Mongo, Redis, databases. I mean, Cassandra as well. I mean, you can just use a lot of things out of the box. We didn't have a need for this. So
Right.
this is also one of the things why we kind of shifted off Spring Boot and kind of said, okay, Quarkus is our choice.
Got it. Got it. So did you folks like build POCs, for example, in like Spring Boot or Micronaut and compare or something like that?
No, no, we didn't
Okay.
do any POCing. I mean, a lot of us have had a Spring Boot experience. So,
Hmm.
I mean, we built these kind of apps multiple times.
Right.
So, but this was nothing new for us. For the Quarkus, I would say that we kind of started with a POC.
Yeah. Hmm.
Actually, I would call this a bootstrapping, a classical kind of bootstrapping. I was
Hmm.
kind of in charge of this. And this is how we actually started the whole thing. So I
Hmm.
kind of went there and we decided which kind of extensions we want and set up everything and provided like a very small kind of project which serves like an example for all the APIs. So I mean, integrate everything what we need and like kind of make a proof of concept that yeah,
Hmm.
this is working, this is it.
Okay, so that's cool. So things went well, I suppose, with the bootstrapping that you did. Like,
Yeah,
did you identify
bootstrapping.
any pain points?
Yeah, bootstrapping was like it was like a first impression
Hmm.
that I got out of Quarkus, and I think it was really great. Um, First, I like this kind of guides documentation. Like every extension has its guide. So like I had a huge list of what we need, and then I was like going extension by extension, and it's actually pretty easy. Like you read the documentation, you understand what can be done, you understand what configuration properties are there, you set up this by your needs, and you move on to the next extension. I mean, we ended up using a lot of extensions, of course.
Right. Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
um,
this is actually something that's kind of polarizing at the moment. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, it's awesome." A lot of people say, "Oh, it's terrible. I can't find anything."
really?
Uh, yeah, yeah, it depends. It depends. So basically, we do have this, I should say, vision, and it's being executed on now. Where we're gonna have like this these different style of documentation. There'll be like more. There'll be reference things. There'll be guides. There'll be like smaller like to do things. So that's on the roadmap because yeah, there are some folks that like miss this more like everything reference style that they can just like go through. But for experienced folks as yourself, yeah, we usually hear that the guides are great. I mean, yeah, I know how to do most things. I just need to know something specific. I'll just go check it out.
No, but look, don't get me wrong. Reference guide is also good. So if you have both, then you're
Yeah.
perfect. Then.
Well, yeah, that's our goal to get to we're looking at this framework called the DataStax or something like that. It has these like different concepts of documentation. So we'll get there. Like documentation is always something to be improved. So
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. I mean, one of the things I also noticed immediately was this kind of compatibility between extensions as well.
hmm. Hmm.
This is really nice. I mean, like you add gRPC, you get gRP stuff, then you add metrics, and you have both HTTP and
Yeah.
gRPC
Hmm.
metrics out of the box, right? And as you add things on, you see that this is just like kind of working. Like you add a cache, and there is metrics in a cache. I mean, it's really kind of perfect. So this worked very well. I was pretty impressed by this. And I think this dev mode is also cool. Um, I was not used to kind of using this, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it was the first time when I kind of, oh, what dev mode? But actually, once you kind of start using this and have
Hmm.
this resumable tests and everything, it kind of feels pretty cool, I have to say.
Yeah, it's definitely takes getting used to for Java developers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also I noticed that if your kind of app fails to start, then this whole dev mode kind of goes crazy. Like he would always try to restart the app and then fails kind of consistently, and then you're in some kind of loop where only kind of kill works.
Hmm. Yeah, there
That's
might there's probably a few weird cases that
yeah, that's a
need
weird case, I would say. So
that
yeah.
need better handling. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, in general, yeah, the it works pretty well, but yeah, there were probably a few bugs there that we can
I don't
iron
think this
out.
is a bug. I think this is just like, there are the situations that something is set up and you maybe depend on something that you need to call as part of the startup and it's failed. And then, the app restarts and you fail again and you just kind of
Yeah.
100% of resetting the loop.
But the integration thing you mentioned earlier, that takes a lot of work. I mean, that is something that we face all the time, like different things that stack on each other. Yeah, that is really what we try to bring, a unified experience. Uh, we usually get there, but yeah, there are some times that things
Yeah,
get
I,
crazy.
I, I completely get it. I mean, there are always these edge cases where
Mhm,
you didn't kind
exactly.
of
Yeah.
count on something and you combine a few things together. And then, of course, there is some kind of case where something is not working. But that's fine.
Yeah. And there's also always cases where folks do things that we didn't anticipate. So
But this
we
is good.
developers are yeah, exactly, it's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's the
getting
most
creative.
that's the most valuable feedback you get.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. All right, so okay, so we mentioned like everything is going like cool so far. And you've progressed, like you've bootstrapped things. How are things like after a few months, right? How are things
Yeah,
going?
so we started developing. At first, it was only one API. It was the document API that we actually moved to Quarkus. I think it went pretty good. We hit few issues. I think in like this course of 6 to 9 months, I opened like 15 Quarkus issues.
Hmm.
I have to say that some of them were really solved quickly, like in the next release. So this is pretty kind of cool as well. Yeah, I think at the end for us, it was really important that we test everything thoroughly, and we actually ended up using some pretty nice Quarkus features. And this is one of the things that I want to maybe go more into today and showcase
Hmm.
some examples and so on. So
Cool.
yeah, I mean, we basically build Stargate, and we need to ensure that it works with Cassandra 4, it works with Cassandra 3.11, it works with DSC, which is like a commercial version of Cassandra offered by DataStax. It has to work with some kind of special environments that we have, Astra DB like production environment, and so on.
Hmm.
And for us, like testing all the combo, I mean, like all these different options, it has to work. It has to be done thoroughly, and it has to be green, right? So I was pretty impressed by the whole testing abilities in Quarkus. So what you offer, and yeah, I want to maybe showcase what we did with integration tests. But let me kind of just like
Hmm.
jump back a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so I kind of believe that right now, actually in our APIs, we have three types of tests. So we have this kind of classical unit tests, so like JUnit
Hmm.
5 tests, without kind of Quarkus being involved at all. We have these tests which are annotated with Quarkus test.
Hmm.
So it's a Quarkus test annotation. I would call them integration test if you ask me, because you can like test a part of your application, right? You kind of spin the app, and then you can inject a component and you test this component together with some other components. You can mock
Hmm.
out some of them and so on. I mean, of course, you can also test the whole app, but for me, this feels more like some kind of integration testing.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
then, and then, like this kind of third part of this pyramid is the Quarkus integration test annotation, which is absolutely awesome, and something we kind of exploited very much. I would call these tests actually end-to-end tests. So this
Yeah.
is for me something like a black box testing, right? You
Mm.
spin your app, and then you test it. There is no injection, there is no mocking. There is just like, take this configuration, run the app, and now I want to run the test and see if everything works. And yeah, I mean, maybe I can just showcase how this
Oh yeah, absolutely,
works
absolutely.
for
So
us.
yeah, as you've seeing that naming is hard. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
those
naming is
annotations
hard.
might be a little confusing. Yeah.
Sure, sure. So, am I sharing? Can
Yes,
you
yes, I
do
can see. Yes, we can see your screen. Yeah.
it? Okay, so I just kind of I have my IntelliJ
Hmm.
open, and I have our Quarkus-based project. We have three APIs, one common project
Hmm.
here, and this is actually our usual integration test. So we use Quarkus integration test annotation, and we use Quarkus test resource, which is also great. Of course, we develop our kind of custom test
Hmm.
resource. So let me just explain what test resource can do. Basically, it allows you to spin any kind of test container during the startup phase of a test. So any kind of dependencies that you might have in your test, you can wire it. For us, we actually need at least one Cassandra node, and we need a Stargate coordinator so that we can actually run the APIs, because APIs sit in front of that. But yeah, I mean, these test resources are not hard to write. I have to say we peaked in Quarkus codebase
Yeah.
to kind of find examples and so on. But yeah, once you kind of see how this works, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
And then
Looking
yeah,
at looking at code in Quarkus is definitely a good idea. I mean, if you do know where to look, yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can figure out.
yes, yes. Yeah, and as I said, there is no, I mean, there is no injections, right? I just kind of use
Hmm.
rest assured directly and fire a bunch of requests, and I assert the data, and that's it. And yeah, so I can show how this works for us.
Hmm.
It's a simple command. I think I have it here somewhere. Yeah, so basically, I can just go through here. It's Maven verify. I'm just gonna I'm pulling one of our projects. I'm pulling one of the tests. So it's a namespace resource integrations that we see.
Hmm.
And I'm saying skip unit test. It's a flag that we have so that I can only run integration tests.
Right.
And what happens right now is actually the Stargate test resource is responsible for spinning these testing containers, and then we
Hmm.
run the test. And I also have a small, while this runs, I also have a small kind of drawing of this.
Hmm.
So it's something like this. So we have Stargate coordinators, Cassandra node, initialized by our Stargate test resource, and this runs as Docker containers or as testing containers. And the Stargate docs API will actually be started as a jar, and we will
Okay.
execute tests against this, right? So
Hmm.
here is like coordinator starting, Cassandra already booted itself, and yeah, soon we will have the test run. But this is still kind of this end-to-end test. It's fine, but the main problem with this test is that when you deploy stuff in production, you're actually deploying containers. So you are not kind
Hmm.
of using your own jar, and and kind of you don't have a server and like starting a jar directly, but you actually use a container.
Right.
And this is all fine, but you're actually not testing a container
Hmm.
that is going to be deployed, right? Um, and what's really cool is that I can use this same command and just add -d Quarkus dot what was it? Let me just have a look. Yeah, container image dot build
Hmm.
image dot build equals true. So I'm saying now, look, do the same test, but just build a container image along the way. And what Quarkus will do, it will actually, yeah, it's going to look like something like this. So it's my second example.
Yes. Hmm.
Now everything runs in Docker, right?
Hmm.
So the Stargate coordinator, Cassandra node, still initialized by the Stargate test resource, but Quarkus is building the Docker image of the docs API, and then we run the test against the Docker image. And I have to say, this is giving you some kind of extra confidence
Yeah.
that what you deploy is actually cool. And actually, we found a bug in our own code in one of the APIs. So in one of the APIs was using there was some kind of mix-up in a Docker file. It was the Docker file was specifying Java 11 and
Mm.
not 17. So the normal integration tests without the container build were actually green.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then, but then, like if you add a small flag and you actually test the container. So it's like this kind of extra safety, I would say.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's a very good point. I mean, the Quarkus integration test with containers makes a huge amount of sense when you have a custom when you're building a custom container, right?
this,
Like,
it also makes a lot of sense when you are building a native image, I have to say. So, I
oh
mean, we are
yes,
not doing this
very,
right
very
now,
true.
but
Yeah,
how would
very
you
true.
actually test your native image without
Hmm.
this, right? So, yeah, okay, so we have it here as well. So yeah, this is what we actually currently run in our continuous integration. So we
Mm.
run all the integration tests, and we build so with this kind of container approach. Um, but this is all fine. This runs every time we kind of commit code.
Hmm.
But what we also need, and what we also kind of had to develop, was that we need to develop tests which are running with against a custom environment. Yeah, so
Okay.
we need to we had a requirement to test, for example, these APIs where they're connected to some components which are, for example, closed sourced, or for example, using some kind of different authorization services. So we needed to kind of spin customer environments and to actually run tests against this. And
Hmm.
thankfully, Quarkus has this option as well. And I can showcase this pretty quickly if I can. I
Yeah,
think we have
absolutely.
time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So I mean, I will showcase this with a Docker Compose. Uh, so
Hmm.
basically, I have a very simple Docker Compose file where I have two Cassandra nodes. So I mean, in
Okay.
all this test, I had only one Cassandra node. Now I have two Cassandra nodes.
Hmm.
I have a Stargate coordinator, and then I have all the Quarkus-based APIs, REST API, GraphQL API, and Docs API. So that's what we developed.
So this launches everything. This compose
Yes.
file.
So this compose file launches everything. I can start it, and this takes a little bit of time,
Hmm.
but I can go back to my slide and discuss this a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is a real black box testing, right? So what I can do is I can make any kind of custom environment. I mean, this example is a little bit kind of naive. It's Docker Compose. But just imagine I could also spin a whole Kubernetes cluster on my local machine and test against this.
Hmm.
You could integrate this into CI and like deploy things on your dev or your test environments, and then just execute tests against like a running thing, like something which is really kind of similar to your production environment. And this is really great. And this all works with just kind of supplying two properties, right? So it's a little bit different. So you're saying
Hmm.
like, I want to run tests, but I want to run tests against the test host and the test port. So like you need to specify what is a test host and what is a test port. And yeah, that's it. And to be honest,
Uh,
we use this. Yeah.
are you the ones that requested this? Because yeah, I don't think we did this initially.
We didn't request it. I requested some enhancements to this,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, I'm not sure kind of at which point I saw that this was actually available. I think at the beginning, it was not available, and then at some
Hmm.
point I saw this kind of small chapter. It's like at the end of this testing guide. It should be like
Yes, which
at
is
the
very
top.
big. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it showcased to be really kind of helpful for us. Let me just write a command. So it's actually gonna be, I don't need this anymore. So it's gonna be
Hmm.
something like quarkus.http test host and minus d quarkus.http support h1b. And I also need something Stargate related out
Hmm.
token. And we need to get it out token as soon as everything is up. Yeah, and one of the things we asked is actually that the test resources are automatically disabled when you have test host property.
Oh, okay. Cool.
We had to do it manually right now. I mean, we have like, where is it? Let me show you. Should skip. And should skip is
Hmm.
like
Right,
something
right.
like this, right?
Hmm.
Because you don't need to spin anything if I'm already kind of pointing you to the running app.
Yeah,
That's the
gotcha.
thing. Okay, so this is coming up slowly because it's kind of an ordered startup, but it
Hmm.
should be done like in 10 seconds, I hope.
Hmm.
Otherwise, we can Yeah, you see how the Quarkus based thing started really quickly last year. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So let me copy the out token. Yeah, that's it. And what you can notice now that tests are just run immediately. So there is no kind of starting of test
Hmm.
containers. It's just like, boom, I'm going to run against the app that's been kind of started. And hopefully it's going to be green again. I think I
This
tested
is
this before.
this is the kind of thing I love. I mean, because like we develop these features, and they're like, yeah, it might be useful, might not. I mean, I don't know, but when you actually see this kind of thing in real life, and in something as important as Stargate, you're like, yeah, this is really cool. I mean, I love seeing stuff like this.
Totally. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, we just run against
Wow.
the, the Docker Compose script that I started. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent. I didn't even remember we had this, to be honest.
Yeah, that's all I had to present actually.
Wonderful. That's great. I mean, this is great information. So we also like folks again, any question you want to ask, feel free. I'll just ask okay, so what's the what are the future plans for
Um,
Stargate?
so with respect to Quarkus, we definitely want to go and use the native image.
Mhm.
We hit some issues with native, not because of the Quarkus, but one of the dependencies that we have is doing some strange things. It's starting a thread in a static initializer, which does not
Right.
work with a native.
Mhm.
So we need to get rid of this before we can actually yeah build and test the native image.
Mhm.
But it's definitely on our path. We are currently like in a mode of very being very close to release candidate, and as soon as I think we are GA, we would invest in this.
Very
One of the
nice.
other things is that some of the APIs are still having some blocking code,
Mhm.
so we kind of wanna rewrite those, and we wanna change it. So that's definitely on our path as well, so to say. Um, I am not, but I would be super happy if I mean, we still have the OSGI based project,
Mhm.
which is now stripped of all these APIs. We
Okay.
just have like this kind of basic Cassandra coordinator code inside. I would be thrilled if we can move this also to Quarkus. This
Mhm.
would be super actually, and because then we can really kind of unify, and we can have all the components actually using Quarkus, and this sounds pretty cool to me.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Just like out of curiosity, so how would the migration work, right? Are you gonna like run um, both services, the old version, the new version, in parallel for a while and see
Exactly.
how it goes?
Exactly. So we have, yeah, we run both versions in parallel. These must be backward compatible. I mean, we've
Hmm.
kind of ensured that this is the case, but you never know what happens when you deploy to
Yeah.
production. I mean, you pass all these testing phases and everything is like working, but then you kind of are live and something odd happens. Yeah, there will be deployed in parallel, and there will be actually only a kind of a config on the ingress, which
Hmm.
would actually switch the traffic to the new APIs. If everything is fine, we keep it. If everything is not fine, then we revert back the traffic to go to the old version. That's what we have in mind right now.
Cool. Very nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So, do you have any idea like when you're gonna be GA?
So the GA for Stargate V2 is, I think, 26th October. It's like
Mm.
set date, but yeah, things can go
Yeah,
off.
of course. It's
But
software, so yeah.
let's say like end of month is definitely a GA
Nice.
time for us.
Cool. Yeah, they're very nice. I'll keep a look on it. Very
Sure.
nice.
Uh, can I stop sharing, or am I sharing?
Yeah. I'll remove your screen.
So
There
I
we go.
can just close
Okay,
that.
so folks, any last questions that we might have? How about any requests from Quarkus at this point, like based on
Ah,
your 9 month journey?
oof, there is a lot of things. Actually, I think I have a pretty cool feature in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a full-blown update command. I mean, I know there is a Quarkus update
Ah,
command,
yes,
uh,
yes.
but for ages this has been a pain in
Mm-hmm.
the. I mean, when you use some framework and you need to update to a new version, it is a pain in the ass. It's
Yes. Mhm.
I like the update command how it is right now. I mean, you get like this kind of text-based, like, you need to update this and that. But what I want is like, I hit this and everything is changed in my code. What should be changed? I mean, not like these big things and things
Mm-hmm.
that kind of really are break changes, but like, just kind of bump my version of
Yeah.
Quarkus,
Mm-hmm.
bump the plugins that are used, maybe if there are changes to Docker to the Docker images, so the base Docker images that come with
Mm-hmm.
Quarkus, update those as well. If there is some kind of so basically just in like configuration and setup, you
Yeah.
don't have to touch the Java files, but just like kind of bump everything, and this would be pretty cool. Um,
Yeah, I think that is something that has been discussed, and yeah, it's definitely something that a lot of people would appreciate. So yeah, that would be a very, very, very user friendly feature.
yeah, I mean, we also hit some kind of bumps
Hmm.
on the way. I mean, this is a really kind of enhanced or like feature request command, but we hit few bugs
Hmm.
on the way. This would also be great if this would work. So, for example, tracing is right now with Mutinin not really. I mean, the traces are not really having correct parents.
Hmm.
At least it seems to us that some things are really off. I know there is an issue, and this is ongoing
Yeah.
work, I think.
Hmm.
So we are looking forward to kind of get this. We also hit this really strange bug that when you hit 401 unauthorized, the path, so the HTTP path tag in the micrometer metrics, it's
Hmm.
not getting templated, so you just get like a
Oh.
full kind of path.
Oh. Okay.
And this is really annoying. I mean, there is a workaround. You can use match patterns in the configuration to
Hmm.
kind of override those, but it's kind of tricky. I mean, you always have to have this in your mind when you're
Yeah,
adding a
it's
new
annoying.
endpoint that you need to kind of be careful about this.
Hmm.
What else? Yeah, we had some kind of interesting requirement to do gRPC based routing. So gRPC routing, or let's say load balancing,
Hmm.
depends, based on a request context. So usually, like in multi-tenant environments, like if tenant A is coming and using the system and tenant B, you might want to route them to different depending services, right?
Right. Right. Hmm.
And we hope that we will solve this with Stork and
Hmm.
gRPC. But yeah, it seems that the Stork was not designed in this way to have like a request, to bring in the request context or like give you some kind of request parameters when you're kind of
Right.
deciding when you want to
Hmm.
route and load balance. But yeah, we understood this was not there by the design, so it's fine. I think I opened an issue for this, but actually I don't even think this is so easily to implement because like what would you bring in? It's not so
Hmm.
easy.
Yeah.
But we solved this with a sidecar in production
Okay.
and Nginx, so this worked as well. So yeah, I mean, as you start using it, you're kind of hitting some
Yeah.
some
Absolutely.
issues, but eventually you sort things out, and you're actually more thankful for all these features that you get out of the box than these small issues, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But like you said, I mean, we do see things that like pop up from time to time that would definitely make people more happy. So yeah, when the let's say like more pressing things get done, then yeah, we move on to things like this. Very nice, very nice. So anything final you'd like to add?
No, I think that's it. I mean I can say that we are always looking for like external contributors. Um, our repository is Stargate, Stargate IO on Twitter. Um, I mean now when we move to the modern tech stack, I think people could be quite thrilled to work with Stargate and to develop something that's being used in the yeah that's our repository that's used in AstraDB and that's used
Hmm.
by other projects. So yeah, I mean, come join us.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, definitely easier to get contributors with the modern tech stack
Yeah.
than with OSGI.
Yeah, when they hit this class loading issue in OSGI, they just give up immediately.
Yeah, everybody just gives up. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I also want to tell the people to come and contribute to Quarkus as well. I think everything that's source. If you have time, go contribute, use it or not. Um, I've been in open source for like 10 years now. Did a lot of
Nice.
projects, and it really feels nice when you're developing something that's open.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you get a lot of experience, get to work with great people. Yeah, I can't
So,
recommend it enough. I mean, it's great. So I second your suggestion totally.
do you have any
Wonderful.
last question for me, maybe?
No, I think I got it. I mean, you did an excellent job covering all this. I mean, I'm really looking forward to your V2 launch, and we can definitely schedule another session like down the line, see how things have gone, and what new features are in, and we can talk again.
Sure. Sure, I would be glad, especially if we kind of move the whole all the projects that we have to Quarkus. This could be like a nice episode again. Why not?
Lovely, lovely. Oh, and yeah, actually, I wanted to one final thing. So are you folks like gonna have also metrics for like how much money you've saved or spent more on for the deployments of Stargate on your like I'm assuming you use the hyperscalers.
You mean like in production?
Yeah, yeah, in production, yeah.
We still don't have this.
Hmm.
I mean, I cannot share this. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
have this information right now. I mean, we are still kind of in a pretty defensive mode, I would say. So
Hmm.
we still kind of, when we deploy, we still kind of give a lot of resources to these
Right.
APIs,
Hmm.
and we kind of want to be in a safe mode at the
Hmm.
moment,
Hmm.
and then kind of decrease and see if this is still kind of working out. But it's definitely, I mean, we expect it to be a significant saving. So let's see.
Yeah, let's discuss in the future, see how it goes.
Yeah, especially with a native image. I mean, if we can kind of
Hmm.
deploy that and decrease the memory usage, yeah, sounds like
Absolutely.
something we really want to go for.
Cool. Cool. Looking forward to hearing more in the future.
Yeah, totally. We will share things.
Awesome. Awesome. Open source way.
Yes, we also have a blog and a website. So I think a lot of things that we actually do in the open source world, we kind of write about it. So I think it's nice sharing knowledge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We all gain from that. Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Welcome.
Thanks everybody for viewing, and we'll see you next week. Have a good day.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.